2,632. That is how many games in a row Cal Ripken Jr. played without ever taking a day off. 16 straight years, never missing a single game, all for the same team, the Baltimore Orioles. He started the streak in 1982 and didn't stop until 1998, and along the way he passed Lou Gehrig's mark of 2,130, a record everybody swore was untouchable. When he finally broke it on September 6, 1995, the game stopped for 22 minutes while the entire stadium stood and cheered. Today, the longest active streak in baseball sits in the hundreds, which means the closest player is still roughly 2,000 games away. Modern teams build in rest days on purpose. They call it load management. So for anyone to catch Ripken now, they would need 16 years without a single injury, a single sore back, or a single day off. It is never happening, and that is the thing about baseball. It is a sport obsessed with numbers, and a few of those numbers are so far out of reach that they have basically become myths. These are the records that will never be broken, and once you see the gap between the record and everyone chasing it, you understand why. Start with the one every fan knows. In 1941, Joe DiMaggio got a hit in 56 games in a row. Think about what that means. For 2 straight months, every single night, against every kind of pitcher, DiMaggio found a way to get a hit. In the 80 years since, nobody has come within 12 games of it. The closest anyone got was Pete Rose in 1978, and he stopped at 44. During the streak, DiMaggio hit .408, and the night it finally ended, 2 brilliant defensive plays robbed him of hits. He then immediately started another streak of 16 games, which means he very nearly hit in 73 straight. Today, pitchers throw harder than ever, relievers come in fresh every inning, and defenses shift to erase hits. A 56-game streak in the modern game is close to a statistical impossibility. Then there is the number that makes every modern pitcher look part-time. Cy Young won 511 games, not 300, not 400, 511. The man in second place, Walter Johnson, finished almost 100 wins behind him. Young pitched for 22 seasons and threw more than 7,000 innings with a career earned run average of 2.63. He had 5 seasons where he won 30 or more games by himself. For comparison, the winningest pitcher of the modern era finished his career around 260 wins, barely halfway. Young also holds a record that might be even crazier. He completed 749 games. Today, a starter who finishes what he started once in a season is a headline. Modern pitchers go 5 or 6 innings and hand the ball to the bullpen. To win 511 games now, you would need 25 wins a year for 20 straight years. Nobody is getting close. Nolan Ryan owns 2 of these. He threw 7 no-hitters. 7. Sandy Koufax is second with 4, and most great pitchers never throw a single one. Ryan also struck out 5,714 batters across 27 seasons, which is over 800 more than Randy Johnson in second place. That gap alone is bigger than most Hall of Fame careers. He pitched until he was 46 years old, and he led the league in strikeouts 11 times. And here is the part that breaks your brain. Ryan threw his last no-hitter at 44 years old. Pitchers today are protected with innings limits and pitch counts, so nobody will ever pile up that much volume again. Pete Rose has the hits record with 4,256. To understand how absurd that is, he averaged about 177 hits a season for 24 seasons. If a player today put up 200 hits every single year, an elite season most stars never have once, it would still take him more than 21 years to catch Rose. He also played more games than anyone ever, 3,562 of them, and had 10 different seasons with over 200 hits. Only a handful of players in history have even reached 3,000 hits at all, and the active leaders are still more than 1,000 short. The gap is enormous. While we are on hits, there is the single-season record, and this one is actually recent. In 2004, Ichiro collected 262 hits in one season. The old record was 257, set by George Sisler back in 1920, and it had survived 84 years before Ichiro finally beat it. Ichiro was a machine built for exactly this, an elite contact hitter with world-class speed who could beat out infield singles all day. He put up 10 straight seasons of 200 hits or more, something nobody else has ever done. The modern game went the opposite direction. Hitters swing for power, strikeouts are at record highs, and nobody prioritizes singles anymore. The skill set that produced 262 hits barely exists today. Walter Johnson has one that almost nobody talks about. He threw 110 shutouts. A shutout means pitching a complete game without allowing a single run. and he did it 110 times. Pete Alexander is second with 90, and after that the list drops off a cliff. Johnson also won 417 games across 21 seasons, all of them with the Washington Senators, a team that was usually terrible. Since complete games have nearly disappeared from baseball entirely, a modern pitcher would have to throw a shutout in more than 100 separate games. Most starters today will not throw 100 complete games combined in their whole career. Hank Aaron holds the total bases record with 6,856. Total bases counts every base a hitter earns, so this is really a measure of doing everything well for a very long time. Aaron played 23 seasons and was elite in almost all of them, hitting 755 home runs and making the All-Star team in every year but his first and last. He never once hit 50 home runs in a season. He just never stopped producing. The closest anyone has come since is Albert Pujols, who finished at 6,211, and he needed 22 seasons to get there. No active player is anywhere near it because it requires both peak production and a career that refuses to end. Rickey Henderson stole 1,406 bases. Lou Brock is second with 938. That is a gap of more than 400 steals, which on its own would be a very good career. Henderson led the league in steals 12 different times and was still stealing bases in his 40s. In 1982 alone, he stole 130 bases, which is more than most modern teams steal in a season. He also scored more runs than any player in history, 2,295 of them. Baseball made the bases bigger in 2023 to encourage more stealing, and steals did go up, but the best base stealers today finish a season around 60 or 70. At that pace, it would take 20 years of leading the league to catch him. Barry Bonds has one that says everything about how feared he was. In 2004, pitchers walked him 232 times in a single season. That is not a typo. Nobody else in history has ever walked more than 170 times in a year. And 120 of those walks were intentional, meaning the other team simply refused to let him swing the bat, handing him first base on purpose more than 100 times in one season. He also drew 4 intentional walks in a single game, and was once walked intentionally with the bases loaded, which teams almost never do because it gives up a free run. To break this record, a hitter would have to be so terrifying that managers would rather load the bases than pitch to him for an entire season. Modern analytics say intentional walks are usually a bad idea, so teams issue far fewer of them now. The league leader today is often under 20. Some of these records are strange rather than famous. In 1912, a player named Chief Wilson hit 36 triples in a single season. The triple is the rarest hit in baseball because it needs a very specific combination of speed, a ball hit into the right gap, and a huge outfield. Ballparks back then had enormous, irregular outfields where balls rolled forever. Modern stadiums are smaller and more uniform. Today, a player who hits 10 triples leads the league. Wilson more than tripled that, and his record has now stood for over 110 years without anyone seriously threatening it. And then there is the one that may be the most unbreakable of all, because it happened exactly once. On April 23, 1999, Fernando Tatis Sr. came to the plate twice in the same inning and hit a grand slam both times. 2 grand slams, 1 inning, and both of them off the same pitcher, Chan-Ho Park. He drove in 8 runs in a single inning, which is also a record that still stands. Nobody had ever done it in the previous 120 years of baseball, and nobody has done it in the 25 years since. For anyone to match it, their team would have to bat around twice in 1 inning, and the bases would have to be loaded both times, and the same hitter would have to homer twice. The odds are astronomically low. In more than 150 years of baseball, it has happened one time. So which of these could actually fall? Honestly, almost none of them. Most of these records come from a version of baseball that no longer exists, one where pitchers threw until their arms fell off and players never sat down. The game got smarter, safer, and more specialized, and in doing so it locked these numbers away permanently. If one of them ever does fall, it will probably be a single-season record rather than a career one, because careers simply are not long enough anymore. They are not just records anymore. They are artifacts of a game that does not exist anymore, and every year that passes puts them a little further out of reach.